Okay. As soon as that gets ready, make the cut, we'll start the board meeting.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Okay. Bring the board meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. We'll start with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up on the agenda is the adoption of minutes for November 21st. Could I get a motion to adopt the November 21st minutes?
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Everybody on the board had a chance to review them? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Continuation of the public hearing for the farm animal, amending the section 320-51.1 farm animals. Ms. Falcone, you had the opportunity to send it to the municipalities.
Do you want to open the public hearing first?
Okay. Well, yeah, can we open, can I get a motion to, yes, reopen the public hearing?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
6:31.
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I sent a letter to Town of Clay, Town of Cato, Town of Ira, Town of Elbridge, Town of Van Buren. Is that it? 5?
I think so.
Did you get Granby? Granby?
That being
I can check
said,
right now.
you sent them to everybody, I believe, that was necessary. but
Yes.
As Al and I spoke about this previously, technically, it's not required for this type of local law. This is not an amendment to the zoning ordinance. It's an amendment to a separate section of the town code. So the notices are fine.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
I did send it.
With that, is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on the proposed amendment of the farm animal law?
So has the town board got an update from the planning board from Onondaga County regarding this?
Yeah, we have received the county planning and the town planning board's information.
And so my guess is that the county planning board and our own planning board weren't on the same page. Is that true?
Okay. My synopsis of what the county said was, refer it back to it's the town's oversight. They had a couple little areas they wanted us, I did not bring my folder in. They had an area that they wanted to make sure that we had reviewed. The planning board came back and said that they were not in favor of any kind of amendment to the farm animal law because it would, and this is my interpretation, because it would open up
Can of worms.
a lot of differences of what could happen. How would you, yes, correct, interpretations.
Right,
Yep.
right, because each individual is different. Okay, now say I lived in a development like Clinton Heights or Baldwin Hill or Abbott Landing or Brickwalk or Malia Park, and say I was willing to admit that this summer or last fall that I harbored some chicken embryos in violation of the town law.
Yes.
So my question to this board is if you go ahead and pass this new law, would technically I be grandfathered in to where I wouldn't have to face a punishment or fine of any kind?
Well,
Or would
I mean, if you still don't have the eggs or any chickens, there's
Or
nothing to find you.
So say I did it.
There's a process.
Say I did it illegally, but then now I don't have them anymore, but I'm willing to openly admit it. Would I be grandfathered in to if you pass it, or would I be susceptible to a fine or some type of punishment in the future? Can you tell me that?
You wouldn't be grandfathered in for committing an act in violation of the code prior to the adoption.
Okay, so if we have a town board member that had the chicken embryos in violation of the town code, how would you treat that?
I'm not the code officer, and I think, as you've heard the board say and the supervisor say before, we don't dictate to code enforcement how the code is enforced, because it's not the place of the board to tell.
Sure, we don't even have chickens there yet. But, so anyways, through communication with our planning board chairman, I have become aware that, in their opinion, the reasoning behind this is because maybe somebody on the board did that, and not 20 people came and were interested in getting chicken embryos.
Well, I
in the
can,
backyard.
if we want to go back in history, I can tell you 20 people didn't come forward to enact the farm animal law.
Sure.
So, if we want to go back to why we have the law in the first place, but that's not what we're good for. Since the law's been enacted, and that was one of my first things, because if people don't remember, I was one of the people who didn't understand why we needed the farm animal law for an area that had an issue that had an HOA and should have addressed it
Okay.
individually, instead of the town addressing it
No, I
for
totally-
that purpose.
I totally- I
it's okay.
appreciate that.
I'll give you your time, because it's a
Okay.
public hearing, but I
Okay.
want to address this. So we're not going back and rewriting it, because I asked the code officer, farm animal law, how many people have we actually cited? And it was over 20 in the 6 or 7 years that the law's been around. So that was news to me. The law has a use, because my first thing was, not that it was the top of my list, I got plenty of things I haven't got to yet.
Absolutely.
But it was an absurd, I thought it was an absurd town rule when something it could have been handled differently. But it's used. So when, I don't care if one person comes to us or 100 people come to us, if they come up and say, this is an opportunity, and I have spoke to people on both sides. Some people don't understand. They think that we're going to allow people to have chickens to have the eggs. So, but that was the first thoughts that were brought up to me, and I said, no, there are companies that deliver the eggs. Yes, you could find somebody that has chickens if you want to raise eggs and go through that yourself if we do enact this law. But, people have to read the law and read the intent, and it's very specific. Now, that being said, at the end of tonight, we'll probably close this public hearing. And as, the town attorney had told me, any modifications to that law would have to go back through this process.
Okay.
So between what is proposed and if we did make that decision. So the board has a decision on their hand to go back through this process if we decide that's the path forward.
I appreciate the time that you put into it.
I'm not concerned if it's one person or 100 people. Personally with this law, it's stuck out in my mind for quite a while. And it was 3-2 on this board with the people at that time that passed it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a 5-0,
Right.
great idea.
Right.
6 years later,
Right.
we didn't realize.
Right, and I appreciate you putting the time and dedication to look into it and share that with us. That's appreciative. And from my own personal opinion, hey, if you live in an apartment, I'm not for it. But say you're a homeowner that lives on Hayes Road or something where you currently can't have it. I don't see any reason if you own a half an acre why you couldn't have a chicken in the backyard. Okay, in some of the other areas. And
Right, but this isn't chickens.
I understand that. But, based on little research I've done, if you go back in the day, in Baldwinsville, when this community first started out, if you go back and tell our forefathers, the McCarrys and the Baldwins, that one day there won't be chickens allowed in your backyard, I think they'd be rolling over in their
I
grave.
can remember growing up, there were still horses in the village.
Absolutely.
Off of Albert Park.
Absolutely. Remember on Route 48, just leaving, going into Van Buren, there was a family on the left-hand side that had the big egg outside of the front of their house, and they sold eggs. And that was a better time, in my opinion. But my point is I appreciate your guys' efforts. Nothing is going to be perfect. You put the work in, but I'm just against people being in your position that might be pushing an agenda that, benefits them personally, that might not be looking out for the greater good of the community or listening to their input. As elected officials, your job is to look out for our best interests and do the best job that you can, not create law that would favor one of you individually or something. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that's interested in speaking on the amendment of the farm animal? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:40 p.m. Can I get a motion to close it?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Public hearing is finally closed. That was a long one. But here we are with Melvin Farms, as I think still has the winning, the trophy. Okay, and as I said, when the board contemplates all of the guidance from the planning boards, county and town, if we make a decision, there would be another process if we modify that law or if we enact it. But obviously, it would all occur here in public. The next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Are there any citizens that would like to speak tonight?
Go ahead.
Two important dates coming up. Tuesday is the election for your fire district commissioners. There are fire districts for the town of Lysander. You have Northwest and Belgium that will have elections on Tuesday for fire commissioners.
In Seneca River.
In Seneca River, yes, sorry. And the time, they're all starting at 6 o'clock?
6 to 9.
6 to 9 at your firehouse.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Goes till 9 o'clock. Not sure who's all running in other places, but look it up and go and vote, at least. If you're in Plainville, there's one out in Plainville also, aren't you out in Plainville, Bob? No, okay.
He's Northwest.
Okay, Northwest. The other important date is for the Belgium district. The fire trucks, the 2 fire trucks will be out on Saturday, starting about 8 or 9 in the morning, taking Santa around to deliver candy canes and see all the kids. There will be a schedule posted on the Facebook page. There will be one in the southern region and one in the Radisson northern region. So you can go and see, your kids can see Santa at that point in time. So go on and visit them. So Saturday is the Santa run of next weekend, and then Tuesday is your election. Obviously, it's also a school budget vote too, so on Tuesday. So thank you.
Could I ask her a question?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is appropriate protocol-wise, but what's going through my head about you reminding folks or telling some folks for the first time, including me, that there's elections coming this Tuesday. Would it be appropriate, or maybe it's totally inappropriate, if when there are elections in the fire departments, for those folks to come to town board meetings and just make a presentation? And I don't know if we're allowed to do that, but
It's political.
is it? I mean,
Absolutely it is.
Yeah, and remember that
They're political.
They have their own municipality.
they're their own district, their own municipality.
Outside of enterprise, they're their own government.
They get their own, they levy taxes, so you are levying taxes, you know, because you have a tax bill, and that's part of the tax money that comes in.
Okay, so we
And so
can't
they
do-
have candidates.
Can't do an FYI
There
now to the public.
are 5
Other
commissioners.
than notifying people that an election is coming
Yeah.
up, which is fine,
Right.
having them come would be allowing partisan political advocacy to occur at a town board meeting, which is not appropriate.
Not appropriate, but the commissioners do happen, and they levy a lot of, Belgium's is a $2 million budget.
It's a ton of money.
And,
It's a ton.
you're talking about spending the money in the right way for the community. And that's important to be aware of and to even attend their board meetings.
And that's, just to interject, that's a state rule on when they.
Yes, it's a state law that they hold it on the second
So the
Tuesday.
people that decide, well, they hold it on a Tuesday in December,
Nope.
that's a state guideline.
state
That's a
law.
state law that they have to follow.
Have to be on the second
So
Tuesday in December that
it's
they
not
hold
a-
their elections,
A
yes.
fire district deciding, well, we'll hold it on a Tuesday in
No,
December.
it is not the fire district. There could be other things on their ballot as well, depending on what it is that they need to have public approval for. At this point in time, I believe at Belgium, at least, it's only for the commissioners. My guess is, Dina, for Seneca River, it's only the commissioners.
Sorry, ask that again, I was.
For the vote on Tuesday, you have nothing else but the commissioner
That's
election?
it, and it's one commissioner for a 5-year term.
Right, and so that's usually what it is a 5-year term.
And just so people understand, what's the normal turnout for a fire district commissioner vote?
30.
Well,
Sometimes 150.
Yeah.
At Belgium, it can be competitive,
But when you think about the overall eligible voters,
incredibly low.
It is very low, like Seneca River, I think.
Because how else would you know about it?
well, we do post it on our website.
Right.
When Dina gets the notice of.
All the elections, it's up there.
We do post it on the
Yes.
town website. But
Again.
you also have to have it in your head. So hopefully with the school budget, the proposition vote, maybe people on their way home can stop by their, if you go in the evening, you can stop by the fire district. And remember, the time is because the fire districts don't have people sitting around all day. A
Some do.
3-hour window.
Some do. In some other locations, they do have a larger window, but in this area, we generally have
They can
just the 6 to
dictate the
9
3-hour
period.
window, yes.
Yes, and that's usually enough. And you have to be a registered voter in order to vote. You have to have lived in the district, just like
Yeah,
typical stuff.
You get a list from Board of Elections, I
Yes, they get a
assume,
list from the Board of
eligible
Elections.
voters.
So,
Just one more thing, and I can totally understand, why what I suggested cannot happen, but could we at least put the onus back on you guys, and instead of Thursday, 5 days before the election, maybe a month out, just come to us and do what you just did tonight, so we can just, do whatever we can to encourage people to.
Yeah, I can put it in,
It's on the
my
website,
notes.
every fire department gives us their notice of
Notice,
elections,
yeah.
and some of them have been on there for weeks.
Yeah, Dina
So they-
posts the budgets and the.
Then maybe you, Dina, can bring it to the meeting, to the town board meeting, just as, public information, this is what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think and it's important because commissioners make big decisions.
big decisions on money and what's going to happen and,
All right, so next year, we'll hear about this in November.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Wait, let me write that down.
Thank you.
Put it on your calendar.
I'll put it on there.
Oh, and the Santa run, they honk the horns and.
Oh, yeah.
Just so people, they
So we honk the horns, we have music
Yeah.
playing.
Yes.
We bring usually 2 pieces of apparatus to each area, so there's usually a squad and a ladder or the truck, so that, and Santa's in them and goes around and sees the people.
So if you hear the fire truck going by in the morning, stop on out and get a candy cane.
And get your picture taken
See
with Santa.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've got 2 Santas. There's 2 Santas.
We'll get into the logistics after. Kids watch.
Right.
Santa's helpers.
Hey, what do you think of the situation? Please tell us.
We're going to have an executive session about this.
It takes a long time to do those runs.
But everybody enjoys it. It's great. It's great to see. Mr. Burge.
Fred Burge, Plainville Road, and I agree with Bob. I mean, not necessarily have candidates coming here, but awareness. I mean, there's usually 7 or 8 people that attend this meeting and probably almost 24 that watch at home. So that's more people than would become aware of it normally, probably, so yeah. Fair warning, I do my homework before I come here. When I ask questions, 95% of the time I already know the answer to the question that I'm going to ask. That being said, I'd like to start off where I left off the last meeting regarding the lawsuit against the town. And if it's okay if I approach, I've got a copy that I'd like to show that I'm going to discuss it.
I don't need to see it.
Okay, well, you don't need to see it because you've got a copy on your phone. So there's one for the clerk so she can get it ready for the minute. And I ran out of color ink, so I could only make up 4 copies if Bob and Pete could share that. And I've got one for having a look at. Like I said, Jeff can just open up his phone if he'd like to follow along. So if you look at this picture, it's a picture of Hayes Road. And if you can see, it's bumper-to-bumper cars on both sides of the road. These cars are parked in front of our neighbors' homes, in front of local businesses. And this text conversation took place in May between somebody that goes by Jeff K. and a town employee. And the picture was sent to somebody by the name of Jeff K. And it says, "I don't see what the problem is here. The road is passable." To which Jeff K. replied, "Neither do I, neither do I." So I want to suggest a scenario for you. Last week, our highway superintendent sent our trucks to Skinny Atlas to get Run-A-Crush. Apparently, they didn't have any Run-A-Crush left on Farrell Road at Atlas Bituminous, which is only 5 minutes away. In the process of going to Skinny Atlas an hour back and forth and paying the driver in that fuel, we had a mechanical failure in Skinny Atlas whereby the worker had to go and knock on the door of a farmer to get help to get it running because our highway superintendent wouldn't pick up his phone. A few days later, the same thing happened on 690, and it was over 2 hours before the highway superintendent answered the phone to go out there. So I want to suggest a scenario. Say our truck was going down this road and it had a mechanical failure. Wouldn't have, under this scenario, wouldn't be able to go to either side of the road to get off and be essentially blocking traffic, so it'd be one lane. So that's where I see there's a problem here. And also the other problem is, hey geez, when Radisson has their yard sale once a year, they go out and put the special signs, they've even got town board to pass some laws, you can't park there on that weekend or whatever. That's one weekend a year. This happens every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night from May until September. So imagine how inconvenient it is for the homeowners to have to deal with that. Say you got somebody who wants to turn their lawn tractor around in the yard while they're mowing the lawn. A lot of people like to do that in the edge of the road, so they're not peeling up their lawn. They wouldn't be able to do that in a scenario like that. I could just keep on going on forever. That's one way of looking at it. And now I want to get to the second response that somebody by the name of Jeff K. replied, "Next time, call me. I'll meet you down there for a beer." I love that place. I believe, and he can go home and delete that off of his phone, but I have another copy of it, including the metadata, which has who sent it, which phone number, the dates and times. So I've got to worry about it. And if you're trying to find it on your own phone, it's just after the conversation where Jeff K. offered his opinion that he thinks our current supervisor, Kevin Rode, was the person mostly responsible for driving away the long-term trusted employee that used to work in our supervisor's office. So if you want to find it on your phone, it's right after that conversation. So whoever Jeff K. is, if he does sit on the town board, in my opinion, he's shown his bias. I love that place. For 5 years, our neighbors have tried to get some help with what's going on down there. And members of this board have buried their head in the sand and hope it just goes away. Through private conversations that I've had with somebody by the name of Jeff K., vindicated to me, which I know now is a lie because I've seen a half dozen pictures of beer bottles being tipped there. But I've never been to that place once. I'm pretty sure Jeff K. said that to our neighbors on Hayes Road as well. Well, that is in direct contradiction to, I love that place. So, in my opinion, since he's shown his bias,
You've got a minute.
and to me he's lied about it, he needs to completely recuse himself from any and all discussion in that executive room regarding that lawsuit against our town, and I would think that you would agree. And it's a shame that he hasn't come forward and showed you that stuff. And just when he goes home and deletes it tonight, I want to let you know that I have a complete copy of it on my computer. What phone number it came from and the dates and times. Thank you very much for your time.
Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment?
Kathy Road, 7806 River Road. First of all, Kevin would prefer I never speak. And second of all, he never knows
Is
what
this
I'm
microphone
going to
on?
2 seconds.
And second of all, he never knows what I'm going to say. So that's why he prefer I never
I
speak.
think I hit both of those while you were walking up.
I just want to bring up what happened at the previous meeting's work session. I was kind of disappointed that after the election and that a clear winner was chosen as Gene Dinsmore to take the board seat, that the board didn't see their way clear to say, yeah, let's put him on the board now. I know the argument was made that an election was, they don't take the seat until January. However, this was not a normal election. It was a special election because there was an empty seat. The normal election for this board seat happens next year when the 4-year term is up. It didn't end this year. Therefore, because it was a special election, and if you look at other government agencies, say when these appointees for the senator for Trump go in and they're going to hold a special election here in New York State for Mannion seat or whoever, once that vote's taken, that person takes that seat. They don't have to wait till a regular election cycle to do it. It's irrelevant now. This discussion was held during the work session so that the voters who voted don't know why Gene didn't take the seat now. So I wanted to bring it up so those watching would understand that two of the board members chose to go with he shouldn't take the seat till November. Regardless of the fact that the voters have voted, if they're willing to put him in January, they're willing to put him in now. Dina made the argument that it would be to her advantage and Gene's to do it earlier. Kevin also mentioned what it's like sitting out here for those 2 months to wait to take your seat. This was not that kind of situation. It was not normal. It was special, and I was disappointed that the outcome came the way it was. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Citizens' comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. Town board comments. We'll start with Councilor Kudarakis.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out today, especially on this cold, snowy day. Just keep in mind the plow trucks are out there, so be patient, be vigilant, make sure that you're not parking on the road either at night because they will be ticketed. So those are the November 1st to, when is it, April 1st? 15th? You can't park on the town roads, so make sure you're not parking on the town roads. Make sure our plows can do the roads. Other than that, I'll stick to the agenda.
Yeah, I'll stick to the agenda tonight as well.
All right, I would like to thank everyone who came out to the Baldwinsville Turkey Day race. It's a great tradition in Baldwinsville. I believe this was the 56th year in a row. I love it as a community building event. I love all the volunteers that come out and help out with the organization and production of that. And then I just love to see the people in the community come out and start their Thanksgiving that way. Also, the Parade of Lights, another great Baldwinsville tradition, and I'm glad to see it. All the people lining the streets and all of the participants in that parade as well. Other than that, please drive safely. Obviously, the roads are slick. Leave your home a little early. Show up a little late where you're going, but show up safe. And thanks for coming out. Thanks for your opinions from the audience, and thanks for watching on PAC.
Thank you, Councilor Moore. Supervisors' comments. One thing to pass along regarding the snow plowing, just a reminder from the highway supervisor, keep the trash cans for trash, keep them out of the road far enough where the wings of the plows will not catch them. Most trash companies have now gone to the grabbers where they'll definitely reach off the road. I know we've had some issues already with people leaving their cans out too close to the road. usually our plows will let you know when they're too close to the road. The other thing, not plowing across roads. We do have a law that says you cannot plow snow across the road and deposit it. I know that, living in Radisson, sometimes I get up at 4:15 in the morning and drive, and I'm ahead of our guys because they're doing the main roads first. The roads I travel on aren't always plowed by ours. But some of the plow people for the driveways, residential driveways have been out and they will deposit the snow in the roads. Just remember, it is against the law, it is illegal. The highway MEOs and the wingmen do have little sheets, so you might get a little letter on your door stating, please let your plow person know to not plow across the road, because when they don't get out there, 2 or 3 inches of snow, when a plow drags snow back out of a driveway, becomes 2 feet of snow. I can make it through with my truck, but people driving small cars cannot. So please be conscientious of your neighbors. Other than that, I would like to say, I will say it publicly, we have been in talks with New York State troopers. I've had phone calls and emails. We will be, we're waiting for the agreement to come back from New York State. We have improvements to do at the troopers barracks that will be done weather permitting. Everybody's in a good agreement moving forward with the proposals. So hopefully we will have that done, but we have a month-to-month agreement in place for the time being after the end of December. So you will be probably seeing the board vote on that in the coming weeks. And we got an email today, mortgage recording tax. We get a portion of the mortgage recording tax from every entity that has a mortgage in the town of Lysander, as all towns do in the villages. Our budgeted mortgage recording tax revenue this year was $500,000. We get 2 payments from the county. The first payment was $212,000 roughly. The payment in the fall is usually larger, just the way home sales work. And that is going to be about $388,000. So we will be receiving an additional $100,000 of mortgage recording tax. To put that in perspective, last year, as most people know, interest rates have gone up still, even though other interest rates have calmed down. We received about $650,000 in mortgage recording tax. So it is a little less. That's why you don't want to budget a revenue that's that large over. You'd rather guess a little under and get more. So that is a nice thing to know that we are maintaining that on the revenue line. That is all I have for this evening. And please stay safe out on the roads the next couple of days. It's going to be a little hairy for us that didn't have any snow last year. This is a different set of events. So moving on to department head reports.
Nothing at this time.
Okay.
All set tonight.
Engineer?
All set.
Town clerk? Okay. Seeing none, we will go to the regular agenda items. Motion A. I would like to get a motion to refer the Melvin Farm incentive zoning project to the Lysander Planning Board for seeker review.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Discussion. At the work session, we had the developer on the phone. The consulting firm was also here, the engineer, and I think we're pretty comfortable referring this to the planning board, which then we will get it back on December 19th to visit the seeker process.
I'd like to make one comment, and it's not specific to this project, and I think what we're doing is just fairly normal in terms of protocol. But to the conversation that happened tonight, and I've been thinking about this, and it's a conversation I think we need to continue to have: is when is enough in terms of development, and how much ability or control do we even have to even entertain the idea of maybe if it is too much, what do we do about it? So I'll throw this out, and I might throw it out on a regular basis to see if the idea has some efficacy. One of the things, every community is unique. If you've been down in Clearwater, Florida 40 years ago, US 19 was a 2-lane road. It's now an 8-lane road. because they had the ability to expand. It doesn't make it any more fun. In fact, it's a pretty lousy experience. The unique aspect of where we live, Baldwinsville, is we have a four corners that's absolutely immovable, thank God. I guess you could say technically or theoretically you could knock all those buildings down and start over, but God forbid we ever did even entertain that thought. So we have a funnel that really does have a point that is immovable, and it will always be two lanes intersecting with two lanes. And any traffic study that planning or we require as part of an approval process will never take that into account, ever. And as you said before, they're comparing things like Los Angeles or San Francisco or New York City, which is it's apples and oranges. So the thing that I would encourage us to think about, and it's not been done before, is it time, and I don't know who the people would be, is it the planning boards, is it the town board, is it reps from all of them, where Lysander, Van Buren, and Baldwinsville all met together in a room and said, can we talk about our future together? And one part of that, and it's not part of the law that we have to do this, but anything that we approve is going to impact the village of Baldwinsville, and not seeking their approval, but it sure would be nice to get their opinion about what we're approving. And so I would ask us to think about that in terms of referring stuff that we approve to the village and say, hey guys, what do you think about this? Because to me, it's a gasket that's ready to blow. And if it wasn't for the fact that we have a relief valve just east of our community, which is all the shopping centers and the big roads that that start with Clay and end up in Cicero, I don't know what would happen. But that's a relief valve. We don't have a relief valve in our community, and we'll never have one. And I'm kind of happy about that because it will preserve the integrity and the whatever you want to call it, the quality of life that we all hold so dear to ourselves. So anyway, that's the thought. I think it's time for the three municipalities to set up some sort of framework to meet and discuss this issue. That's all.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Any discussion? That being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Motion B. I'd like to get a motion to authorize the town supervisor to sign the contract drawing cover sheet and BSP 5 for the Timber Banks Phase 4, Section 10, prepared by CHA with a final revision date of November 20th, 2024.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Discussion. Al, would you just reiterate the process of this approval for approving these drawings?
So this is the contract drawing. So this allows the developer to build the infrastructure per the town standards and specifications. The developer still needs to go back to the planning board at some point in time for final or for preliminary plat approval. The town of Van Buren engineer who reviewed this because of the conflict of interest in that my firm prepared the contract drawings for this, has approved the contract drawings and written a letter that you all have a copy of. The applicant or the developer still will need to go back to the planning board for an updated preliminary plat or final preliminary plat approval. However, that is, as you know, the planning board and the town board are anonymous. It is two separate things. There's no significant changes from this to what was previously approved. There was some documentation missing from the applicant in that the sewer capacity letter wasn't received from the county until yesterday, I believe it was, it came in, and the final drawing review from the town of Van Buren engineer hadn't been complete before now. So those two things will be provided to the planning board when the applicant comes back for final preliminary plat approval.
So this is infrastructure and utilities, not
Correct.
building houses. That still
Correct.
has to go through the planning board.
Correct.
I'm in total support of everything you just said. I'm just curious. My memory is not. Why did the town of Van Buren get involved in this?
Because
CHA prepared the contract drawings.
the developer.
Okay.
I work for CHA. I didn't want to have a perceived conflict of interest in that I'm reviewing plans that my firm produced.
So even though, and just so the public understands in the motion, CHA prepared the plans, Town of Van Buren, their engineer reviewed them and made comments and made suggestions that were,
That were all addressed and has now
that
approved them.
that are on the website with our meeting minutes, if anybody wanted to review. So, okay?
Yep.
Okay, that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We don't need an executive session tonight. Could I get a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:10 PM?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Have a good night. See you.